Hey, welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know, this is the podcast from the birthplace of geocaching right here in the great Pacific Northwest. Now, it's Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific, and they call me Chris of the Northwest. And we're going to talk about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the globe. So while you're spending your evenings with your head in your freezer, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
It's better than your head in the oven. That's
true. That's true. It's been a little warm here.
Yeah,
You've been a little warmer.
We have highs in the triple digits for about a 10-day span. I think last I saw, sometime end of next week, we might get down into the high 90s.
Lucky guy.
So it was in the high 90s inside my garage. Remember when I used to podcast from the garage and I dealt with the extremes?
Yes.
It's more comfortable here.
It looks like you're in your garage. I don't see a difference.
It looks very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Ham already wants to know who let the monkey escape. Honestly, I hadn't noticed he wasn't here. Oh, yes, I had. Yeah, he's out gallivanting around the globe somewhere. I don't even know where tonight.
All around the globe.
That's right. Wherever he is, he's logging fines.
Greenward says, I see the monkeys and the monkeys in Chatlackey are in Alaska.
Okay.
They're trying to escape the heat.
I told the people at work that, they were complaining about the 100-degree weather. I said, well, it's going to be in the 40s in Canada.
There you go.
Said, cool, let's go there.
It's so much cooler.
Yeah, no, they didn't get that at all. Hey, tonight, though, we're not talking about monkeys. They're off doing something else. We're talking about affordable adventures. That's kind of the low-budget things that I like to do for geocachers specifically. And I'm willing to bet that y'all in the chat room have some tips for affordable traveling, affordable adventuring geocacher style. So throw them in the chat. Let's hear what you have to say. Excuse me.
Just because we can.
Yes.
Let's throw out the hashtag of #adventure. Ooh. And start sharing your affordable adventure ideas.
I'll bet that hashtag's never been used anywhere else, ever.
That's right.
Or maybe it has. I don't know.
Iham says, geocaching is free?
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
Reminds me of something else. Remind me later to look at that. Anyway, before we jump into tonight's topic, however, we have to say that we love and support and appreciate our patrons. They keep this podcast coming each and every week. Mm-hmm. First of all, let's thank Land Sharks. They are one of our corporate Denali level sponsors. You can check out all of their geocaching goodies at landsharks.ca. They are your adventure outdoor geocaching store. They ship online orders daily, I'm told. So check them out. And for absolutely amazing Gold Country Geotourism adventures, go check out Gold Country Geotourism. That's exploregoldcountry.com. You can learn about the geotour, the whole region, and don't forget they do have an app you can go download and check that out. exploregoldcountry.com or facebook.com/exploregoldcountry. And you, dear listener, if you would like to know more about supporting this show, click the Patreon link on the cachingandw.com website, wherever it is, up, down, left, right. It's there. You can find it. It's not hard.
That's right. Well, thank you so much. And folks, it's time for a glow. And you may ask, what is a glow?
What is a glow?
Thank you for asking. You may also ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
You may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile.
That's part of the affordable adventures, I bet.
Oh, okay. Could be.
That's a whole different segment. Let's stick with the glow for the moment. The glow is the geocaching log of the week. So whether you wrote it or whether you read it, we want to hear about it because great logs simply make geocaching better. Now, send an email or a recording from your fancy smartphone to feedback@cachingandw.com. You can also call into 253-693-TFTC on maybe a less fancy smartphone that you don't want to put a recording on and you just want to call in. Or it could be an incredibly fancy smartphone. I don't know where I'm going. It could be from your landline with the really long handset cord in the kitchen that'll stretch into the living room.
You
Whatever
could do
you
it from
want
a
to call
payphone.
it.
If you
Ooh,
could find a payphone.
yes, payphone. So stop what you're doing right now, unless you're driving on the freeway. Send in that glow, and then go ahead, get back to what you were doing.
Okay. I stopped what I was doing there. I wasn't sure if I could read. Let's see. This one came from Iham, who's in the chat, asking about geocaching being free and where the monkey went. He sent in a glow and says, Adventure Mike found fishing in the weeds. It says, so when I come up from Cottonwood, Arizona to visit the grandkids here in Lakewood, I love the geocaches in this area. I saw this one in the park and I've not found it yet. I was very excited about going out and making this grab. So, of course, I don't read the description. I immediately bolt out to ground zero and noticed 3 caches hanging from the bushes. And I was a little miffed that this geocache owner can place so many caches and there were no logs in them. So I put a couple of my cards in 2 of them and went back to the house. Tell my wife how these cache owners put their geocaches out with no logbooks. Now I'm sitting at my son's house and logging the find, and I'm proud of myself for helping the owner out by putting logs in his empty geocaches. And I'm reading the description, and you can imagine how I felt after I read the description. I felt like a red herring myself and took my son with me this time to make the real find. Success. And yes, covered in ants, but that's okay. What a cool cache container. I am now very pleased to see the time and effort put into this cache. Very fun and gets a favorite point from this Arizona knucklehead. Thanks for placing it. So I don't have a GC code for that to go look it up.
No, didn't have a GC code.
I have to imagine that it...
fishing in the weeds in Lakewood.
Must be part of the description that there are several red herrings.
Well, if you read the description, I bet you could find that. But who reads the description, right? I just want to go out and find a geocache.
I occasionally do.
Yeah.
But I have been guilty of running out for a find without reading ahead. It happens.
I do it most of the time, actually. Now, tonight, as I had already spoiled the surprise, I stole my own thunder, if one can. Use the hashtag adventure to ask anything in the chat tonight. And, of course, you can use the hashtag FATAS if you want to bring up something for the after show.
For the after show.
Oh, whoa. Do you want me to put that up there now, or does that mean we have to end the show?
We might have to end the show if you do that.
Okay, I won't do it.
Okay. But yeah, throw some stuff in the chat. We'll see what you all want to talk about. As we often do, we're going to get to some news first, though. If you joined us for a recent episode, we discussed the Mingo plaque and that it had gone missing. AWOL, if you prefer. And there was a fundraising, I don't know if it was a GoFundMe or Indiegogo, there you go. I was going to say some online fundraising platform to raise the money to replace it. They were hoping to get $3,500 to do that. And I have to say, I'm pretty proud of the listeners to this here podcast, but because before we ended the show that night, there were already several pledges.
Yes, there were.
There. So that was
you
awesome.
guys are so very generous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And very prompt, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So they were hoping to get $3,500. They have reached, as of this date,
as of today, tonight, just before we went on air,
150% of that goal. $5,260 has been pledged by 83 backers. I think they're just going to have to go out and replace that plaque now, and they can make a really nice one.
Now they can get like a 2-sided plaque or something.
Yeah, they can do it. Maybe add a security bolt or two.
Really heavy. Now you said it went a wall, and it depends on how big the plaque is, but it could be a wall.
Yeah, it could be on a post.
Mm-hmm. So, folks, thank you so much for your generosity. I know it's not just the folks listening to this podcast, but I like to think maybe it is. But you know what? Geocachers are good people. I like that. Seebeck Tribe says she saw the new plaque at Cache Fest.
Oh, nice.
Fantastic. In case you wanted to know, GC85 Hotel 5 Nancy is the GC code for our glow.
Okay. Let's go check that out later. And if I'm ever in Lakewood, I'm going to remember to bring lots of trade items to put in all those empty geocaches.
Yeah, there you go. Fill them up.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. And Seebeck Tribe says she even got a picture with it.
Hey, nice.
And you know what?
Now
that she's here, let's embarrass her because she also posted on the Facebook page, or I'm sorry, on the YouTube page of that video. She's glad to hear about the Mingo plaque coming back since she just got it a few days ago.
Just logged Mingo as a find, did she? Good for her.
Yep. And then she also wrote on last week's podcast, she says, bummer I missed your show after the hot weather and the hike to GC 272. Full stop right there. Right? 3-digit geocache. That's
been around a while, yeah.
She says, OK's oldest. Now, I don't know if she's saying OK oldest or Oklahoma's oldest, which I'm really going for in that one.
Probably that. Especially since she was in the area of Mingo. That's closer to Oklahoma than Seebeck.
That's true. And does that make that okay? Is Oklahoma okay?
It must be because it says so on their license plates.
Okay. After that, she was exhausted and crashed. Plus, she's 2 hours ahead. Okay. I'll give you that one. Oh, she did the oldest in Oklahoma, Utah, and Kansas.
Actually, she's answering Wet Coaster, who said, are you sure it wasn't the old plaque that you saw and that this is all a scam? So.
Oh, I never thought about a scam.
We'll steal the plaque, raise money for a new one, and put the old plaque back. No, they wouldn't do that.
Okay. Hey, we got a lot of feedback tonight. So let's continue with Greenwords, who wrote via email. I was looking at the CNW YouTube page and saw my name on the screen for yesterday's show. It was a surprise. Now, this is last week's show. Not sure how you choose or if YouTube chooses. Great show. By the way, are you coming to Point Roberts on August 10th for the WSGA BCGA event? Okay. Now, there's a couple of questions here. Let's start with the beginning. I typically do not choose the thumbnails for the YouTube videos. I let YouTube do that unless it catches one of us in, a less than flattering pose, which it has. So I let them do that. And so if it comes up, and it often does with Komakino says, no, it's random for the avatar. Is that what he's referring to on YouTube? I believe it is.
Maybe.
I don't know if I'd call it the avatar. I'd call it the thumbnail. But anyway, yeah. So, I usually go and usually pops up with one of the questions that's being asked. I don't know why. It just does.
Maybe there's something for algorithm looking for text.
Oh, that could be. That could be like a title.
Yeah.
Oh, Komakino's right. Thumbnail. Okay. So, and let's go on to the second part of the email of, are you going to Point Roberts on August 10th? I do want to. Now, I looked it up. It's a 3.5 hour drive, not including border crossing. And I just saw today that there are pre and post events around the cache across the border. So where the two, the Washington and the British Columbia Geocaching Association gets together once a year. There's an 8:00 breakfast event.
Oh,
I thought, wow, that's great.
That's nearly lunchtime, but okay.
Yeah. Especially if I get up to handle a 3.5 to 4 hour drive ahead of time.
Can you just catch a boat from Tacoma or straight up to Point Roberts?
No, not anymore. During the pandemic, they did have a ferry running because Canada closed the border.
Yeah.
And there's, Point Roberts doesn't have all the services to support the town.
Yeah.
Without crossing the border into Canada. So for a while, Washington State did run a ferry from Seattle to Point Roberts.
Well, and therein lies the rub that for me personally, right at this point in time, I do not have a valid form of identification that will allow international border crossings. So I would not be able to go to that event.
Well, you might be able to if we follow Wet Coaster's advice here. And so you can fly into the 8 a.m. event. It's at the Boundary Bay Airport.
Well, there's a possibility.
So if we take what's the airline that flies off into the water here?
Kenmore Air.
Planes. Yes, there you go. Kenmore Air. I bet they would fly us to Point Roberts without ever crossing a border.
Oh, but then he followed up and said the airport's in Canada.
Well, Kenmore Air can still land on Washington water. Okay. Oh, there he goes. Thank you, Seebeck Tribe. So you'll never have to cross the international border.
I know a couple of private pilots. Maybe I could sweet talk them into just flying from U.S. airspace direct to Point Roberts.
In case you want to know, Kenmore Air is now flying out of Tacoma.
Oh,
yeah, I get to see the float planes every now and again.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Is that in addition to or instead of?
In addition to.
Did they just abandon Seattle like everybody else should?
They should. But no, not entirely. Or not yet. Maybe they're going to see how well it works in Tacoma and then go, this is so much better. Why are we in Seattle?
That could be. All right. Well, if the breakfast event is at the Canadian airport, I couldn't go to that either. It is in the works. I'm working on renewing some travel documents, but they've expired.
In Washington State, I'm pushing for everybody to, when they go to renew their license, go get that enhanced driver's license.
I did that. I just applied for that.
Yeah.
Mine's good for another 3 years, so it's not renewing it, but it has my old Tacoma address on it. My license does.
Oh,
I thought, you know what? It's time. I'd updated all my information online but it's time to do this.
Wait a minute.
My current address.
You're on the grid now? The government knows where you are?
Well, I've got this tracking device in my pocket everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Two of them, in fact, with the work one. Yes, I can be found.
Well, there you go. Washington State residents getting the enhanced driver's license. It's going to make it so much easier going across the border. And I think traveling state to state, because I believe, is it 2025 or later 2024 that the Washington State driver's license will not be entirely valid in all states for
air travel, right?
Is it just air travel? Okay.
I think I could be wrong, but
well, we should just rename this episode to, Seebeck Tribe says.
Yeah.
Seebeck Tribe says you can update your license and they'll only charge you for the difference if your license hasn't expired.
Yeah, that's what I did. It was, I think, $7 per year of left. So I think since I have 3 years left, I think it was $21 or something like that. So wasn't terribly expensive.
Okay. Well, a little more news. Yeah, I promise we're going to talk about topics tonight, but we got a lot of things going on. This one came via the HQ newsletter. Get ready for a day that's out of this world. International Geocaching Day 2024 is just around the corner, promising a day filled with adventure and camaraderie. Now, there's a word I don't use often.
It's a fun word to say, too.
Camaraderie. Go ahead and say it with me.
Camaraderie.
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 Okay. They go on to say, join the... I'm sorry, I was being silly. Join the global geocaching community as we celebrate the 13th anniversary. Oh, you like 13?
Mm-hmm.
Of International Geocaching Day. This unique holiday, born out of the 2011 geocaching block party, is a testament to our shared love for adventure and exploration. Log any geocache, adventure lab location, or event on August 17th to earn the International Geocaching Day souvenir and have some camaraderie.
How often do you get camaraderie?
I'm going to use it a lot tonight, actually.
And a camaraderie souvenir.
Yeah. Seebeck's Tribe says, the new name of this episode, Night Gang, because I'm an hour ahead and been in 100-degree weather all day, plus long driving. Wow.
Sweet dreams.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the episode named after you.
And if you're an hour ahead, then the podcast goes over anyway, right?
That's right.
So
tell us how we did. Because I don't know right now.
I don't know. All right, let's see what else we got. Oh, you know what? We have a little more news. Shocking, I know. They're talking about a cosmic quest.
Ooh.
Now, if you caught our little business meeting video that we leaked, we heard about some of this stuff. And, oh, by the way, pressure's off because she says we did great.
Oh, good. Night all. We're done now. We already did it, apparently.
So you might recall that geocaching intercepted in communication from a space satellite. Needed some help deciphering it. And they report that thanks to help from geocaches around the world, they've deciphered the intergalactic communication they received from outer space. The message read, "Hello, Earthlings. We've come across a reference to geocaching.com on a metal creature roving the planet Mars. It seems this geocaching is an activity meant to further exploration and community. Dare I say camaraderie.
Thank you.
We would like to better understand this interesting human activity, and we're traveling to Earth to learn more. We only hope we'll have enough fuel in our spaceship to keep exploring." So geocaching says we're excited to take this opportunity to further intergalactic friendship. Our friends from outer space are here and having a blast geocaching, but now they need our help. Their spaceship is running out of fuel, which they need in order to continue exploring other planets and galaxies, which, I don't think there are any other planets or galaxies that have geocaching. So why leave?
That's right.
Lucky for us, we're able to help them by doing what we do best. That would be geocaching. The fuel their spaceship runs on is positive energy. And what better way is there to build positive energy than getting together with friends and finding geocaches? You know another word for that?
Exact word. Oh, we have been together too long. What would be a better way to say that?
I say maybe camaraderie.
Oh. And Kitty Quest says camaraderie can make your adventures more affordable.
Just tie it all together there. Put a big bow on it. Thank you for doing that. You need to go rename the episode right now to no, you have
camaraderie.
Yeah. Okay, so here's how you can help out our aliens fuel their spaceship. Geocaching says, join us on a cosmic quest from July 22nd through September 1st. So that's several weeks in there. You got some time. We help our friends fuel their spaceship. During this cosmic quest, different geocaching activities will generate different amounts of fuel. If we reach 15 million units of fuel, the spaceship will be all set to launch our friends to their next cosmic destination.
So if you really want to get rid of them, wait.
You should just go do the ET highway.
Ooh.
During Cosmic Quest, we will use the leaderboard to track the community's progress toward this goal. And on the leaderboard, players will be able to see how many units of fuel the global community has generated. Available campaign souvenirs and information about how many units of fuel different geocaching actions generate. So they don't tell us here, at least it's not listed in my show notes, exactly which geocaching actions generate how many points, or units of fuel, I should say. But go check out the leaderboard. How many points for a DNF Quest coaster? Well, I gave you a brownie point for going through the effort of doing that.
That's right.
However, I don't think that'll help the Martians any.
Well, that's goodwill and positive. What did they want? I want to say
Camaraderie?
positive vibes. Camaraderie. Yes, that generates camaraderie.
Positive energy.
Energy. There you go.
Pure energy. There was a 1980s song with a Leonard Nimoy soundbite over and over again, said pure energy.
I don't know if I know I had to have heard that one, but I can't pop it off in my head right now.
It'll show up in the chat. I just have a hunch it will.
Well, yeah.
The song's running through my head, but not enough to grab the title yet.
Yeah. Well, folks, I know we are 26 minutes into this podcast, and now we're going to get to the content. We had a lot of news and a lot of Seaback Tribe. Now, let's get on with the show because Starcacher is just here now. So now
perfect timing.
Can get going. And okay, in case you've forgotten, use the hashtag adventure to tell us some of your affordable adventure ideas. So summer's upon us in the Northern Hemisphere, right? In the Southern Hemisphere, not so much. That means longer days and probably road trips. One of the best things about geocaching is it doesn't have to be expensive. Oh, there it is. Now I know the song.
No, that's not the one.
Oh.
No, it was the Information Society. What's on your mind? Pure energy.
Oh, Information Society.
Yeah, that was the 80s song. However, the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins was a song that Leonard Nimoy recorded. And I do know that song. That's fun.
And he spoke it and not really sang it, right?
He sang it in the way that William Shatner sang songs.
That's true.
Must be a Star Trek cast thing. I don't know.
He sang songs in the way that William Shatner didn't.
Exactly.
So geocaching doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, you can go out and listen to music. You know, you can listen to Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner in your car for free, streaming off of YouTube, with just a smartphone and a sense of adventure. Maybe not a sense of good music, but, you know, soon you'll be finding caches all around you.
That's right. And, you know, sure, you could make the argument that, well, smartphones and cars aren't free. You have to spend some money to do that. Mm-hmm. Those are things that most people already either own or have access to. So we're just going to give those a pass. Because compared to hobbies like golfing, skiing, things like that need special equipment, you know, it's hard to go up and hit the slopes and go skiing if you don't have anything. You're going to spend some money to either buy or rent the stuff. Geocaching, by contrast, can be a very low-cost way to explore the outdoors and have a whole lot of fun doing it. And hey, you know, if somebody else is driving, you could just let them burn their gas and carpool.
Like a cash machine this weekend.
Ooh.
I just got alerted about it. It kind of had fallen off my radar. So I got to figure out if I'm going to do it on my own or, you know, ride with somebody. So
yeah. Where is it?
Right.
Okay.
Somebody help me. Where's the cash machine this weekend?
It's in the Northwest.
Yes, we should go. Now, you had mentioned you probably already have a smartphone and a car.
Mm-hmm. Right.
IHAM says those are already sunk costs.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. It's in Bellingham.
You can just pop over to Point Roberts while you're in Bellingham.
Exactly.
Almost.
So the gear you'll need to go geocaching, and we've talked about this many, many times, is either a GPS or a smartphone, right? You know, if you want to be thrifty, well, in one aspect, maybe not another, right? You could use a GPS if, say, you're going across the border and you don't have a good data plan over there. Using a GPS is much less expensive, or you could cache all those maps and, well, caches on your smartphone, turn off the data, and still be able to use GPS while you're there. So there are ways to be thrifty when you go across the border.
I've even found geocaches by printing out the page in my early days, taking the printout with me. So no mobile data plan required for that.
Just a binder in the back seat.
Yeah. But like I said, you probably already have a smartphone. There's free apps available that you can use. And pens, water bottles, small containers, things like that. They're very affordable. Sometimes they're even given away as swag at different trade events and things like that. Thrift stores, dollar stores, great deals on stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Heck, you may even have what you need in your car. You are a geocacher after all, right?
Very true. I have a towel in my car.
I now have a towel in my car because of the time I needed a towel in your car. Yes. Learned experiences. Like, keep a towel in your car.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go. If you're riding with someone or, in close proximity, JCar says, have your friend create a hotspot with their phone that you can connect to.
Oh.
There you go.
Well, that reminds me, in our early days, there was a puzzle cache, something that war driving. Remember when war driving was a thing?
Oh, yes.
You had to drive around and find the SSIDs of Wi-Fi networks.
Wasn't that a way? Now, there are inexpensive ways to get involved with the community. Mm-hmm. You can attend local geocaching events, which are often free.
Nearly always.
I was going to say there's very few that you have to pay for. Even the big mega events like Geo Woodstock and that, there's always a free registration option. You don't have to buy the big package with the coins and the t-shirt and the meal and the swag that you probably are not going to look at again and leave in a shoebox in your room.
What are you trying to say?
I did. Nothing. Nothing. But when you go to events, you can meet local geocachers. You can learn new tips and sometimes even swap items. Right? And it's a great opportunity to say, hey, there's this geocache and I need an extendable magnet. How do I, which one do you have? What do you like? Which one did you find is good? And which one's junk? And so, and of course, volunteering at events or joining local geocaching clubs like the Washington State Geocaching Association or the British Columbia Geocaching Association. That's the WSGA and the BCGA.
Who are teaming up at an event in Point Roberts on August 10th, or I think, something like that.
Exactly. How did you know?
I don't know. I just rewound the show a little bit. And
fly into the airport.
Yeah.
Either way, those are great ways to get involved in the community without spending a lot. You could even become a representative for one of the geocaching associations. It doesn't cost you any money, and you're helping the community. All it takes is time.
Volunteering is a great way to get involved in many hobbies. Geocaching is no different than that. Okay, so you've got your smartphone and automobile that you already have, and the free app and a free pen that you stole from the little chain at the bank counter, and
pop that sucker right off of there.
Pulled a towel out of your friend's car when they weren't looking. You're ready to go.
How did you know?
You've cached out pretty much everything in your neighborhood, heck, in your even greater metropolitan area. So to keep geocaching, you're probably going to need to do a little bit of traveling. And, traveling's just fun anyway. But traveling, a lot of people say, well, that's expensive. It can be.
Right.
There are some very expensive ways to travel, but you can travel on a budget. You can stay fairly close to home. You can find everything in your area. You don't have to then, you can just use your car is what I'm saying. You don't have to get plane, train, those kind of things. You can do day trips. So that'll save you lodging because you can just head out from your home, make that your base of operation, go to a nearby town, cache your heart out, come back home, sleep in your own comfy bed at night.
And with these long days we're having right now, that's a lot of daylight for you to cache with.
You could leave early enough from Tacoma to have breakfast at the Boundary Bay Airport if you were really committed. I think I got up at like 4 a.m. to use the restroom, and I was like, it's bright outside already. Yeah,
wow.
Right. I know. I get that a lot now. I'm like, huh. Yeah, and it's like not just creeping over the horizon. It's fully up and Yeah. So you're going to save the lodging if you make a day trip. And the other big expense often when traveling is food. You can pack snacks and meals from home.
Mhm.
I've done a whole lot of caching on PBJs and potato chips that I packed in the cooler from home.
Yep, exactly.
And who doesn't like a good...
I liked my canned beverage. Yes.
True.
And you know what? Stopping at a convenience store and paying up to $3 for that same can that you bought for 25 cents at the bulk store, it's not worth it. Take it with you.
Yeah. Convenience is not always made affordable.
Do you want me to tell you a can to drink story?
Sure.
Just this week, I'm driving home, hottest day of the year so far, right? What did my car say? 103 when I got into it.
Mm-hmm.
I get out, I get on the freeway, and I hear pop. And I'm like, oh no, what was that? The pop sounded like a windshield break that I don't see anything there. The hiss and the gurgle is like, did a rock hit my radiator and I'm leaking fluid? And I'm watching my temperature gauge isn't moving. Did the air conditioning, explode because it hasn't been used all year? Right? No, I don't know what it is. And I get all the way home. Okay. So I'm an hour. We're talking an hour on the road. I can't figure out what this sound came from, but nothing on the car is acting unusual. I get out, I open the door and I look down and in that little door holder, there was a can of soda that the top had completely popped up.
Yeah. So was it all contained in the door pocket?
There was like one drop out. It could have just doused me and it didn't. So there you go. Anyway, that's my interesting story for the day.
Yeah, they'll do that in extreme cold as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
I still drank the can of soda just in case you wanted to know.
Hot and flat.
I let it sit and cool down, but it was pretty flat. Unlike the can that it was in.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, pack your own food and drinks. It's inexpensive. And that way, actually, you can cache more during the day if you don't have to stop, wait in a line.
Yeah.
Wait for them to get your order wrong, make it again, bring it out to you. Again, it's too much of my experience. Okay, let's move on.
Well, we mentioned carpooling earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but that's a great way to save travel costs, fuel and stuff. You can also save time because that PBJ and chips and soda that you packed, and you can eat it while your friend's driving.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even have to stop moving the car.
You don't really even have to share it.
You don't have to.
You don't have to. But you know what? Etiquette says you pay your part of the fuel cost, right?
Yes.
Of the gas cost. So, in a day of caching, maybe so you're paying $10 instead of $30. That's a better deal, right? Everything's more expensive these days.
It is. What if you don't have any friends that you can carpool with? Or what if they're all busy that weekend and your car broke down?
You have an unknown sound in your car and you can't figure out where it came from.
Right. So you just park it for fear that it's going to just pop and fizz and gurgle all over you.
It was the gurgle that got me. I'm like, oh, that's a liquid. Oh, and I've had my radiator or my heater core break before.
Oh, that's not fun.
And liquid gurgles into your thing. So I'm also looking at the wheel wells, waiting for them to fill up with liquid. No, that didn't happen.
I think I drove that truck.
I have a story about that truck. Maybe I'll tell it later tonight.
I have several stories about that truck, I believe. Well, if this is the case and you don't have any available transportation, there is public transportation as an option. You can take a bus or a train or a subway if they're in your town and reach places that are too far to go on foot. Public transportation can also be much more affordable than driving, especially in the city, especially when you try to factor in parking somewhere.
Oh boy. And you've got some holidays coming up, right? Take advantage of that if you need to go into the big city. Let's use Seattle for an example. Downtown Seattle on a holiday is empty. You get great quick parking to go grab those caches that, you may have to pay a $5 parking fee during the busy times. but especially if you're carpooling, you might just be able to pull up there, have somebody wait in the car.
Yeah.
One person go out and get it and come back.
Go around the block if you have to or something. And sometimes Sundays and holidays are free to park where there would normally be a fee station. So good tip there. What else we got here?
Well, if you are going to stay overnight, look for free or even low-cost accommodations. So if the overnight trip is necessary, consider camping, staying in hostels. And I don't know any hostels in the area. I know hostel people, but I don't know.
That's different.
Yeah. How about staying with family? They're a good reason to travel too. Mm-hmm. And sometimes even fellow geocachers may offer you a spare room.
Spare room.
Yeah, a spare room. Or at least a curb, which you can park and sleep on somewhat safely.
Preferably in a motorhome, but yes.
You never know.
By the way, IHAM says we used public transport to cache all around Vancouver several years back.
Yes, they did. And you know what? That's one of the ones I thought of. You, IHAM, and Keats 94.
Keats does public transportation caching a lot. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's very doable. Yes, it takes a little planning, but all geocaching takes a little planning. We're talking about low-cost accommodations. One of the things that came up, or maybe, low-cost hotels, they can be okay. Airbnbs, I don't find Airbnb to be inexpensive anymore.
The cost has gone up. There are a few bargains to be had here and there, and I'm lumping Airbnb and VRBO in together.
Sure.
They're very similar things, and there may be other services out there as well. But one thing that we have looked at in the past is some of these Airbnb VRBO options have accommodations that can house 6, 7, 8, 10 people.
Right.
And if you tried to house that many people in hotel rooms, that could get very expensive.
Yes.
So you can share that way.
It's kind of like carpooling for the night.
Yeah. And plus, it gives you more time to hang out and chat with it, which, is what one of the VRBO commercials currently touts as a advantage to their service. But
you have the whole house to yourself.
Yeah. And I should have thought of it, but Subway Mark also likes to use public transport for geocaching.
That shocks me. It really does. No. Thank you, Subway Mark. Good to
know you're out there. Yeah.
My wife's family is getting together for a family reunion, and they're doing a couple of large Airbnb houses to house all the people. And we're talking, like one has 6 bedrooms and one has 5. There's a lot of people coming.
Yeah.
So
that's expensive if there's just 2 of you staying there, but if you split it up and share the cost, that helps.
So yes, you can get some very big houses, very big spaces in some of these short-term rentals. That if it was a hotel, a little too pricey.
Yeah.
So talking of hotels and other travel, travel if you can during off-peak or weekdays times when accommodations and transportation can be significantly cheaper. Popular tourist areas are often less crowded and more affordable outside these peak hours. So,
good tips.
If you're taking that trip to the Grand Canyon this summer, it's going to be busy and it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
No, if you can go in April or October, it's going to be a lot cheaper for you. Yeah.
And I know we're talking about affordability, but it can just be a whole lot more enjoyable when the crowds are down.
Exactly.
I took a chaperoned 9 groups of 8th grade kids to Washington, D.C. I loved every one of them. Every year I learned something more, and different kids. Had a lot of fun, saw a lot of amazing places, and learned something all the time. And I got to know, we had a tour guide that we used, the same one every year. So I got to know her a little bit well. And she lived back in Virginia and had lots of insider tips. And I one time was talking to her. Every time I'm back there, it seems like every 8th grade student in the country was there.
Yes.
That's the common time, spring, for them to all travel. And I said, I chuckle sometimes when I'm watching a movie and you'll see somebody jogging along the DC Mall, and they'll run up the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and stand there and look at the statue. And I said, and there's nobody else around. And I think, yeah, right. I have never been in that situation, in that location, when it didn't sound like a adrenaline filled cocktail party. It just was, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh no, it's possible. I said, because that never happened. She goes, oh yeah, you can do it. Just come on the shoulder seasons. If you come in the fall or, different times of year, the students aren't on the trips, and then you can do that. And true enough, I did go back there one time for work at an off time of year. Only time I've ever been there without 8th grade students in tow. And it was maybe not, I wasn't the only one there, but it was way more quiet, peaceful, enjoyable. It was a whole different experience. That was really cool.
I always make fun of TV shows, when let's say it's a police drama, right?
Yeah.
And they go to the scene of the crime and they're able to park right in front of the door.
Yeah.
On a busy street like in New York, you go, that never happens. Come on now. Be realistic. Well, maybe it does at the right season, but never when I see anything. Kitty Quest has been to the Lincoln Memorial when it's essentially empty.
Yeah, so I have now too, that one trip, but not if you go there during 8th grade student season, which for us was right around spring break time frame.
Mm-hmm.
We usually went in late April, early May. Gorgeous time of year, not terribly hot, but very overrun with tour buses and 8th grade kids.
Wet Coaster says, when Greenwords and I went to Guernsey last summer, we used public transit there for almost all of our traveling around the island.
There you go.
So there you go. Public transit is a viable option.
Most places it is. It isn't.
That's true.
Hopefully your city has good public transport. But yes.
And, you may be able to get an all-day pass or a multi-day pass with on-off privileges of multiple forms of transportation, right? A bus, a train, what have you, trolley in the town. And it's very inexpensive.
Yeah, you can do your research ahead of time and find options that way.
So you can also search for discounted travel deals. There are a lot of travel deals, discounts, coupons for lodging and attractions. Things like Groupon or Hopper can help you find these bargains.
They're out there. Yeah. It again, pays to research.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to those kind of sites are the travel rewards programs, or loyalty points, if you prefer.
Mm-hmm.
Credit cards, hotel clubs, car rental clubs, companies. Maybe you have to rent a car often for business, and you can sign in with your rewards program and rack up the points that way. You can accumulate enough points. I knew a friend that went to Paris almost for free for the air travel, not the entire trip,
right?
But got the flight nearly for free. Going to visit their daughter there. So it can be done. Right. I don't track enough of those programs, and I need to do that more.
I know people who do that, and they run everything they can through their credit card just to get those miles, and then they'll go travel, maybe in one of those shoulder seasons where you don't have to use as many points. Yeah. And
talking about lodging and off season, option for summer travel. Let's see, that's Kitty Quest.
Kitty Quest.
You can often find cheap accommodations in university dorms during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that. I don't know of any resources to look it up. I'm sure internet search could come up with some things. Or you know what? Reach out and get in touch with Kitty Quest.
There you go. She seems to know. We're getting great feedback tonight.
Yeah,
you guys. This one comes from Peach. It says, Skyhawker and I took a train out of Copenhagen to a suburb and then hiked to the oldest cache in Denmark and then did the reverse back to our hotel.
Very cool. Yeah. I stayed in the suburb when I was in Boston and took the T into town for all of the events and tourism sightseeing stuff we did.
I'm sorry, didn't they throw all the tea into the harbor in Boston?
We did that too.
Okay.
Recreation, at least. So, yeah. And then go ahead.
I've often thought I don't have the guts to do it. Long layover of a couple of hours at a airport, go out, grab, taxi or an Uber, go find that nearby geocache and then come back.
Yeah, I have not had been brave enough to try that either.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of experience with long layovers. Usually I'm pressed for time and running across the airport. But yeah, I always worry about what happens, especially because I had one, 9-10 hour layover or something, but I was in a foreign country. And then I was really nervous about making sure I got back into the through security and everything. I'm like, no, I'm just going to stay right here.
We're too timid when it comes to that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And one final tip, combine activities.
Yeah.
Right. If you're, and we all do it already, right? We're all geocachers, but pair geocaching with other free or low cost activities like hiking, of course, picnicking, or visiting family, right? You may have some family travels in your plans. And if you're like me, you're going to want to get out of the brother-in-law's house for a while and just go an excuse of, hey, I've got to go find this geocache. And then, everybody's okay with that. They're like, oh, okay. Yeah, you go do that. We'll be here. I can't take it anymore. Did I say that out loud?
Maybe you take a train out of the suburbs and then take the hike to the oldest cache in the area and then back just to avoid the in-laws.
You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, here we go. Subway Mark says, I had a long layover at Incheon. Incheon? Incheon. Yeah. I know the pronunciation of it, but I'm saying it and it doesn't sound right to my ears attached to my mouth. I left the airport, got a cache, and rode a train before heading back to the airport.
Nicely done.
You're braver than we are.
Wet Coaster also says you can travel to airports that have adventure labs or virtuals that you can get without leaving the airport. And I have looked for caches in airports when I've been at places, so I've done that.
On our last flight, my wife and I missed our connecting flight, not due to anything of our own, the flight taking off. The first flight was late. We ended up missing our second flight. And so we had 3 or 4 hours. And I thought, well, great. You know what? There's some adventure labs in this airport. And I opened them up and I didn't even have to leave my terminal. They were like, such a big radius that
nice.
There were a couple that I walked, closer to. I was like, let's go see this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there are adventure labs, at least at many airports. And I know there's one here at SeaTac that you do have to get into a proximity. You have to get in the right terminal.
Okay.
There we go, folks. Thank you.
Oh, I was going to say, final thought on the combined activities thing.
Yes.
I would love to travel the world, and my budget doesn't allow it. But one of the ways I've been able to see some of the places I've seen is piggybacking on work trips.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can only honestly think of 2 or 3 trips in my life that I've gone on my own, paid full fare to go. I've almost always been, well, I have to go to, fill in the blank, Chicago for work. I asked my boss when he's going to buy the ticket, hey, could you buy it a day early or fly me home 2 days later? And then I can stay and do some sightseeing in the area while I'm there. Because then he doesn't care if he's paying for the airline ticket a day early, a day late. It's the same cost for him for the airline ticket. I'll pay the extra 1 night hotel room that I'm there.
Right.
And do some stuff. So yeah,
can you stretch that over a weekend for my return?
Right.
I'll pay the housing.
A lot of business seminars are weekdays. They end on a Friday afternoon at noon, so everybody can fly home for the weekend. I'm like, hey, fly me home Sunday instead.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's great. Yeah. See, there you're getting most things paid for.
Yeah.
And you get the this expense. Let's see.
Wet Coaster did that too. A lot of caching on work trips to Europe and several U.S. states.
Mm-hmm. And even if you're there multiple days for your work trip, typically you're only there like 8-9 hours during the days where you have to be, busy at work. Well, you've got the evenings.
I've cached in the evenings on work trips. Yeah,
exactly. To go out and explore. Just Carlo says, when I have to wait for friends or family or just just window shopping, I often look for the nearest cache. It helps me to avoid impulsively spending money. I like
There you
that.
go. See, we're saving money.
Well, and those big malls or shopping areas often have, very easy geocaches
Yeah.
in the parking lot, right? At the light post.
Mm-hmm. Guardrails, those
Yep.
kind of things.
Here's another one from Subway Mark. You want to read that one?
He says, my only cache find in Michigan is a virtual at the Detroit airport, but I've never left that airport despite flying through many times. I don't consider myself being in Michigan, but geocaching does.
Well, as long as you get that state colored in a certain way, it doesn't matter how you do it.
I have a few states on my map that I have one find in because I was traveling for work and stopped for lunch. I'm like, oh, I'm going to grab that park and grab real quick so I can add a state to my map, and I got to get this truck rolling to the next state now.
Yep. That's how I got Colorado, is leaving on a work trip. Apparently the airline had everything in order except a pilot. They had no pilot for the flight. And now I'm thinking, hey, we got a plane. We've got, the airport. I think we should schedule the pilot next.
You'd think that'd be on somebody's checklist somewhere.
Yeah. So we missed our connecting flight, and they put us up in Denver and, put us up in a hotel. So it was late. I went to bed, got up early, went out, found a geocache on my way to breakfast, and then caught the bus back to the hotel or back to the airport. And I was good.
There you go.
Got a whole new state. Wet Coaster says, I would leave here on a Friday flight to Europe and cache Sunday while I get accustomed to the time difference.
Nice.
What happened to Saturday?
Yeah, about that. Kitty Quest also got 5 caches in Ohio between a morning wedding brunch and the evening ceremony.
Nice.
Yeah, combining activities, I think, is a great tip.
I never thought about that in, wedding. Whether you were kind of visiting family there, I would assume, right? Some
family or friends.
Family or friends. So yeah, that's a great option.
She says, note, it was not my wedding. Okay.
Because your dog bad. No. It's not my dog. Yes, Folks, thank you for enduring us and listening to this episode of Caching in the Northwest.
That's right. We want to take a moment, as we often do, to thank Land Sharks and Gold Country Geotourism. They are our corporate Denali level sponsors. Landsharks.ca is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Go check them out online, and they ship online orders daily. And of course, for absolutely amazing geocaching adventures, check out exploregoldcountry.com. Let's see. We want to thank the other faithful Denali level supporters. That would be Land Sharks, Gold Country Geotourism, Cool Cow Cachers, Cachely, the geocaching app, and Hawaiian Miley. If you want to know more about supporting the show, click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website.
Thank you so much. And somebody like a BC Rock Crawler.
And Skyhawker.
Just finding our way.
Limax.
B Pendragon.
Just Carlo.
GSM ×2.
Railroad.
Logwork.
GeoNav Pro.
Doramore.
Seebeck Tribe.
Shh, she's sleeping. Peach of Washington.
LG 9000.
Mountain Bike.
Greenwords.
Kitty Quest.
Segehove.
Nervous Energies.
Team Noltex.
You Talks to Rocks.
Boomer 365.
CRS 98, who's coming up soon on a show.
Oh, fun. UDAC.
M-Nerve.
Antaeus.
Subway Mark.
Genies.
Trexer.
GeoBirder.
Ackerdoc.
JCar.
Whidbey Island Gal.
Wet Coaster.
Camp Clan.
Butterfly Girl.
Gas Station Tuna.
Terrible Tees.
MC3 Cats.
Flagman.
Geocaches.
RE54321.
Kid Vegas 19.
Very good. Very good. And so many of those names we see in the chat, too. That's great to have you here.
Guys, thank you so much. And we want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Your support helps keep the quality shows coming. So if you like the show, click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website. If you didn't like the show, let us know what you want to talk about. But if you like the vibe, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and leave us a review. Now, if you were in a restaurant, you would tip. If you were in a live audience, you would clap. But since you're on a podcast, leave us a free, fast, fabulous, fantastic 5-star review. Also, leaving a review lets us know that you really want to keep these episodes coming. So call into 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment, ask a question, or send us your budget travel tips any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific for a live show and chat. This show is produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, Jay Kennedy, and Brian Lang. It's licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. That's 3. I flashed 4. The audio people would never have known that, but I mentioned it. I want to be transparent with you folks. Copyright 2024 by Chris Umfenauer. Folks, I ask you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
It's like you're here.
I know.
Oh, wait.
I was scrolling, looking to see if there are any other after show notes. I only see the one.
I only see the one. Let's hit Wet Coaster because it was still more show related.
Let's just read his comment. Don't hate him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you asked about what happened to Saturdays.
I knew what happened. I was just being silly. He says most Saturdays were spent traveling in Europe to get to my final destination. Ooh, is like a final countdown?
Kind of.
Okay.
That was done by Europe, yeah.
In Europe, yeah.
Traveling across Europe would be a fantastic experience on its own.
Final Destination. I remember that movie. It says Komokino.
Yeah. And speaking of Komokino, he's got the only FATAS that I saw there. He said, "Do you need the Monte Cristo cache?
Don't we all?
If so, join us this Saturday for his Monte Cristo event. There are 15 or 20 people that are signed up to go. The Monte Cristo WSGA 48 North and Komokino Team Up event. It's GC Alpha Romeo Bravo Papa Hotel. G-Carb.
G-Carb PH.
Yeah.
How do you get a cool geocaching event name or event code like that? I never spell anything. They just smell.
It's Carbfa.
Look at this one from Peach.
Yeah.
Use air miles to travel and geocache. We just did that for our trip to Sitka. There
That's
you go.
great.
See, it works, folks. Thank you, Peach, for sharing that. I mean, I know people that do. My credit card, I have the option to do cash. I figure, well, that's the same as,
Yeah.
miles in that, right? Save me money now so I can spend it later. There you go. How do you say it?
G-Carb. It reminds me of Opus the Penguin. Is that in Bloom County? Would he have stuff like that? Anyway. Bill the Cat. That's what it was.
Bill the Cat. Kitty Quest says, I wish I could go, but not logistically feasible this year. Hoping it stays as an annual event and I can manage to join in next year.
Yeah, I think he's referring to the Monte Cristo event.
Or Bill the Cat.
Bill the Cat. Yep. Somebody else read that comic strip back in the day.
I don't know. It sounds like an expense. Just go ahead and Bill the Cat. Folks.
Had to get a CAT scan.
We appreciate you.
Very much.
Wait. No way. 1 July vent in Vancouver. G Canada is the code for it?
Well, actually, it's GC Anada.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Wow. Yeah, that's things. Very cool.
Well, here's we were going to close the show. Yes, way. And more keeps coming in. Kitty Quest says, all my airline miles were used by my daughters attending university on the other side of the continent. Of course, I did get caches in New Brunswick
Well, you have to.
or nearby. What does NB stand for? No bother.
North Boston. No, I think it's New Brunswick.
It is. I'm just being silly. Folks, thank you so much. And until next week, get out and get caching in the Northwest.